Thanks for listening to Uncle Sam's Soccer Podcast, keeping you up to date with the latest in American soccer. And don't forget to subscribe.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Uncle Sam's Soccer Podcast. I'm Steven Jotter, and joining me, as always, is the one and only Jake Watroba. And Jake, welcome. It's been a while since we've done this.
And we're back.
Yeah, we are back. Midweek, I was out sick Sunday, so hopefully we'll return back to our normal lineup. A couple announcements we'll get to, and on today's episode, we're talking a little CONCACAF Champions League, talk MLS. What is the headline heading into MLS's 25th season? 25, Jake. Major League Soccer it's a quarter of a century old. Plus, Jermaine Jones, we've actually had on the show, had some takes regarding the U.S. men's national team. I want to react to that. Anyway, listeners, at Uncle Sam's Soccer Pod, Uncle Sam's Soccer Podcast at gmail.com. Send in your thoughts, your comments. We want to hear them. Can't forget, we got Tom Boguert. We had him on the show a couple weeks ago. He's going to give us a fantastic MLS preview. Talking Western Conference, Eastern Conference, kind of some of the major headlines. And Jake, let me ask you, does it feel like MLS is upon us? You excited?
I'm excited because, unlike you, I'm not a Euro snob, so I haven't watched much European soccer over the, I guess, season ended beginning of November. So what does that put us here? 4 months. I haven't watched really much soccer over the last 4 months. So yeah, I am excited that MLS is returning this weekend. I haven't watched much Champions League either. I know that's probably sacrilege to say to you, Steven. So yeah, MLS, I am super stoked later this weekend when we get things rolling.
Yeah, Portland and Minnesota, first game for you. Providence Park, it's going to be on the road. It's a bit strange to me. Obviously, the NBA typically has a big matchup to kick things off. The NFL, we know what they do opening, I guess, what do they call it? The opening weekend or whatever.
It's that Thursday. That's the Thursday night game. It's usually the Super Bowl winner against somebody.
So, but MLS, DC United versus Colorado, Audi Field, Saturday, 12 p.m. I think MLS could really spice things up a little bit. Make the match. They should have done Seattle versus whomever. That first game Saturday to stand alone, put it on ABC or put it on Big Boy Fox, and they could have given us like Seattle Atlanta. Wouldn't that have been a nice matchup? Oh,
that's
juicy.
The only one Saturday afternoon. It stands on its own, and then bam, you get everything rolling Saturday night, and then you have the games on Sunday. Or you could even have had the Seattle matchup, whoever they want to play, Friday night. Maybe that's not as, I don't know. It's a Friday night. Maybe that's not a good thing to do. But yeah, it does feel a little weird that there's nothing there that the first game it doesn't feel meaningful. You know what I mean? Like there's not.
Well, yeah, and I mean, look, they have some sexy matchups. Nashville, Atlanta, obviously new boys in Nashville. We'll talk about a little bit, but that's honestly to me that is the leading game on Saturday, and there's 8 games: Vancouver, Sporting KC, Orlando versus RSL, FC Dallas, Philadelphia, the Dynamo versus the Galaxy, San Jose versus Toronto, Montreal versus New England.
Hold up, you think Nashville Atlanta is the game on Saturday to watch?
It's the sexiest game. You know why? Because Nashville, how many tickets have they sold? A lot.
Yeah, but you know they're going to get
don't care. I don't care. I will simply watch to see the stadium, the team, the colors.
Oh man, you know the sex. No, I think your sexy matchup here is so. No, it's there are 2 games that I think are sexier than Atlanta and Nashville. FC Dallas, Philadelphia. I know it doesn't have the star power, but I think that's a super interesting matchup.
What? Okay, fine. If you're an MLS fanboy, yeah, that's sexy. Okay,
yeah,
young kids,
yeah. Sorry, I don't want to watch Walker Zimmerman get dunked on by Joseph Martinez 6 times.
Yeah. Well,
And the other game I find sexy and super interesting, which will be on national TV if you have Univision, will be Houston LA Galaxy. Tab Ramos making his MLS coaching debut, and so will Chicharito be making his MLS debut.
I get it. Maybe you want to watch it for that, but I don't know. I mean, it's not that sexy. I do think Montreal versus New England. If you want to go down that star-studded name, Thierry Henry, to see what his debut is in Major League Soccer. Obviously, Montreal is playing right now in the CONCACAF Champions League and holding their water so far. This is the weakest MLS team in the competition. Not that they're going up against a very difficult team.
Well, I think of all the MLS teams, I think they're probably going up against the second most difficult team
in the Champions League.
Of the five MLS teams that are in CONCACAF Champions League, I would say Saprissa is the second most difficult opponent that an MLS team is playing right now after LAFC is playing Lyon. Yeah,
I don't know. I think they might be third, but whatever. Now we're picking hairs. But the thing is, people said it was Montreal was the team least likely to get out of. Well, apart from LAFC, and LAFC is a strong team, so there you have two more heavyweights going out against each other. If LAFC was playing anybody else in the competition, they're what, 8, 9 out of 10 times the favorites.
Well, I don't know. According to the conversation that we had off mic, LAFC can't win anything that matters. So
okay, we're talking about Major League Soccer. We're not talking about.
They can't win big games. This is a big game.
Well, yeah. Carlos Vela was absent in that CONCACAF Champions League game.
Well, we know he doesn't like show up for Mexico or in Mexico, right?
Oh, well, that's
okay.
Anyway. Back to the sexy matchups. Okay, Sunday. Then you got some more intrigue. Portland, Minnesota. Although that's a strange matchup to me, Jake, because those games have been very tight last couple of years that they played.
They're a little cagey.
Yeah,
I like it. I like it. And as we remember a few years ago, Minnesota went up to Portland for their inaugural game on national TV and just got run over by the Timbers. I think they lost that game 5-1, if I remember correctly. I vividly remember Vadim Demidov just getting worked by the Portland Timbers. I don't know. Your definition of sexy is weird because I don't see Portland and Minnesota and go, that's a sexy matchup. That's the matchup I want to watch. For me, I'm going to. There's two more matchups I think are sexier than that.
What, on Sunday?
On Sunday.
Yeah. Okay. LAFC Inter Miami. Yes, we get it.
One.
Okay. Next, what is it?
Columbus and NYCFC, I think, is the other sexy matchup.
No,
we're gonna ask Tom. We're gonna ask Tom about Columbus Crew because I've been seeing a lot of steam on the Crew recently, and this is why.
NYCFC is gonna be strong. They're gonna be a strong team for the regular season. But let me remind you, listeners, if you have if you're interested in wagering, this is Steven's top tip when it comes to sports betting. Do not bet on NYCFC to win anything in knockout football. Here's what they've done since they've entered the league in 2017, okay? They have finished second in the conference and second overall in 2017. Pretty good. They lost in the conference semifinals. 2018, they were third in the Eastern Conference, finished seventh overall. Oh, they got knocked out in the conference semifinals. How about last year, Jake? First in the conference. First. Second overall behind LAFC, who ran away with the top seed in the Western Conference and the Supporter Shield. They got knocked out in the conference semifinals. If history has anything to say here, NYCFC will finish either first, second, or third in the conference, be a top team in the league, and they will be knocked out in the conference semifinals. They are not a team to put your money on when it comes to time.
I didn't know the league. We were playing for a league title on Sunday afternoon.
Well,
week one, match day one.
You're right.
By the way, when it doesn't matter, the team that can't show up when it doesn't matter just beat San Carlos 1-0 in the second leg of the CONCACAF Champions League, and they are advancing. Remember the team I told you you're sleeping on in the CONCACAF Champions League? I said you're sleeping on NYCFC.
Yes, you did.
And you and Jason of League One Fun both kind of like, all right, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. But meanwhile, you guys all penciled in Atlanta and Seattle for
Atlanta looked pretty damn good last night.
Everyone had said Montreal was going to eliminate right away, and as things stand, they're through, because I believe away goals is the tiebreaker in the CONCACAF Champions League this first round here.
Moment,
so at the moment, so all I'm saying is I know I said FC Cincinnati wouldn't be as bad as they were last year, but all I'm trying to say is you're sleeping on NYCFC and just trust your boy here.
All right, so but I think this is an interesting point. Here you have MLS opening weekend. You have a few sexy matches, depending on your taste, what you like. Maybe you go more youthful. You like FC Dallas, Philadelphia. Maybe you like the ambiance. You check in to see what the culture is in Nashville. Or maybe you just want to do you want to see some superstars. Chicharito, LA Galaxy, debut. Or you wait till Sunday and you get LAFC and Inter Miami. You have a nice pick. I guess if you're on Tinder, you wanted to swipe left or right, you have options this weekend. This is good, but you don't have that moment where it's baseball season is around. You know when the NFL is on, right? MLS needs to carve that out, because you watch some of these teams in the CONCACAF Champions League and you can tell that they're still in preseason mode. And this is what they bargained for. Remember when when it just became so hectic for these clubs at the end of the season, playoffs, competing with CONCACAF Champions League, it was just too much for them. So this is the consequence of that. And Jake, let me put my tinfoil hat here. Atlanta United won MLS Cup the year after they won the U.S. Open Cup. They look pretty good. They look pretty good to be the first team to get that CONCACAF Champions League, that team to kind of break open some doors. Yes, I know other teams have won a variation of the competition before, but Atlanta, listeners, it's a team to keep your eye out on.
Let's wait until they play somebody actually for real in CONCACAF Champions League before we start.
Hey, momentum is big in competitions like this.
You're not wrong, but I'm just saying. Let's play a team I've heard of before we go and proclaim them as a front runner.
Let's get to the question of the day here, listeners. What is the headline going into MLS's 25th season? 25 years old. What is the headline, Jake, going into this season?
For me?
Yeah.
You want to know what I think the headline is going into this season? I think it's the influx of players coming from Mexico and La Liga right now. I mean, look, we have a number of, I think, big-time signings for this league. I think it's a little unprecedented, if you ask me. First and foremost, Chicharito, we've mentioned him already on the show, signs with LA Galaxy. The all-time leading goal scorer for the Mexican national team was brought in to replace Zlatan Ibrahimovic as the Galaxy's number 9. Other big-time Mexican signing earlier, just a few weeks ago, Rodolfo Pizarro leaves Monterrey for Inter Miami on a $12 million transfer. Pizarro made the move to Miami because he believed, this is kind of a crazy statement right here, he believed MLS was a better stepping stone to get to Europe than Liga MX. And, Steven, kind of on a tangent here, but do you believe that?
I wonder, though, this is what I'm beginning to wonder. Are teams in Major League Soccer better marketed overseas?
They might be, but
if you're a player, I don't think you necessarily care about the level of competition. What you care about is how many eyeballs can you get on yourself in playing for whatever club.
Well, it's interesting because MLS, they talk about how the league talks about how it wants to be a selling league, but I don't see a history of the league flipping players to Europe on a regular basis, to where, as a player, I would think, oh, this league is going to get me to Europe instead of La Liga, which is clearly, or Liga MX, which is clearly the best league on the continent.
Well,
so that's
just to to throw this wrinkle in, we're getting a comment from a listener, Jones here. He said that NYCFC won today in a knockout game, so maybe tides are turning.
I already mentioned that.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying a listener sent that in.
They agree with me. They agree with me.
Our good friend Jones. But Jake, this is an interesting question now. Is MLS starting to punch Liga MX? And I think that the CONCACAF Champions League teams, it seems like MLS is taking it more seriously. And obviously, once an MLS team wins this competition, we'll see what it really means for other MLS teams. Whether or not this is just a league thing, and whether or not fans really care year in, year out. Once we're all watching to see which MLS team can win it. And Toronto, we're pretty much there.
Yeah. I don't
anyway, get back. Let me.
I got some more pointers to make here before we kick it over to you.
Yeah,
right?
that's fair.
I spent a lot of time putting this list together. Okay.
Yeah, that's fair.
Sporting Kansas City paid $9.5 million for Chivas striker Alan Pulido. The transfer fee was the largest SKC had ever shelled out for a player on the transfer market. Now, this next player here is a little silly season. Tigres winger Jurgen Damm is set to leave Mexico for Atlanta United on a free transfer later this summer, according to ESPN Mexico's Rene Tovar. Now, Steven, I have a lot of questions within the question of the day here. MLS is the third most watched league in the U.S. after Liga MX and the Premier League in terms of TV ratings. With the infusion of some megastars from Mexico and Liga MX, will the league see a bump in ratings?
I don't know. I'm assuming on the Spanish networks, Spanish channels, probably. But honestly, when have we really seen MLS has such a small tick in TV ratings that it doesn't take much for there to be a significant bump. I mean, if you see an increase of 20 or 30,000, that is a huge number for a league that averages around 300,000. Just do the math of that percent increase.
Well, there's a problem. I'm not much of a mathematician here, so you're gonna have to spell it out for me. Either way,
that's a 10% increase.
Thanks.
What were you gonna?
I don't know. I'm not good at math. Sorry.
No, but if you do it,
if you want to.
But you say, hey, league, you're gonna do a 10% increase. I mean, look, I'm not in the office. I don't know what they're targeting, but a 10% increase sounds good. That's good.
I mean, it won't be good for World Soccer Talk or whatever that website is that takes a dump all over MLS every chance it gets. I mean, I think you will see a bump in ratings across all networks, not just Univision. I think you will see it on ESPN. I think you will see it on
I think it varies.
ABC,
it's going to depend on the matchup.
Fox, wherever. Right. I mean, Atlanta Nashville does not get me excited, so I'm not sure if I'm going to tune in for that.
Wow.
Okay,
sorry.
Nuts.
I know I'm tuning into that. I'm going to butter myself all up for that match.
You see that matchup and you start getting sweaty and you start breathing heavily because you want to see how many people Nashville can cram into Nissan Stadium. Yep. Me, I don't care.
That's great. That's what the league needs.
You are standing. You want to hear Nashville SC's stupid anthem that they came up with. You want?
I don't care. I do not care. I do not care that the anthem sucks. I just want to. I want to feel the atmosphere. Nothing is better in Major League Soccer than when LAFC sings the national anthem. That is the jewel of Major League Soccer.
This is such a great bit because that's like your go-to is the national anthem.
This is the only club in American sports across all the leagues of all the sports of all levels, college, amateur. They're the only club that gets the national anthem right by a long shot.
Well, and we're happy for them.
Anyway, San Jose.
Give us your headline that you're.
Well, I wanted to add something to these names coming coming to the league. San Jose, Sporting KC, the Whitecaps, DC smashed their own transfer records this past transfer window, or this offseason. Jake, you're seeing an increase in spending. What do you think that means for the league? Do you think they realize, oh crap, we better start spending on our squad because it's having a huge impact?
It's economics 101. You can't make money if you don't spend money. I mean, they should be spending more money. I mean, you can't sit here and tell the Euro snob or the guy who only wants to watch the Premier League, well, pay attention to MLS, even though the quality sucks, and then get all offended when he says, yeah, but I don't want to watch these no-name U.S. based players that I've never heard of, or I don't want to watch Joe Blow for Chicago. I'll go tune on NBC in the morning, and I can watch Kevin De Bruyne, run circles around West Ham, or it's anything like that. So you need to raise the water level, at least get it on par with Liga MX, and maybe you will start to see
Jake,
more eyeballs.
You made a significant point about the influx of Hispanics, Mexicans, those players who came from Liga MX to MLS. Like you saw an increase of that. And they're big names. Some of the better players in Liga MX making their way to Major League Soccer. Then you have San Jose, Sporting KC, the Whitecaps, DC smashing their own transfer records. But notice one thing here. It's not for the 38-year-old washed out European or the 34-year-old. These MLS is going the route that you saw with Atlanta United when they first came into the league. Young, up-and-coming players. Some of them who happen to be more in their prime, but they're not going after the name for just the name's sake. This is what crushed the Galaxy. Chicharito might end up being a better fit for LA Galaxy despite not scoring as many goals. And despite not causing so much drama and off-the-field headlines. Why? Because it fits the system. I think you're seeing teams go, I don't care what the name is. Are they willing or are they able to fit my system that I have here at DC United or here in Vancouver or whatever club it may be?
No, you're right. Like you said, I think Atlanta provided a lot of teams with the I don't even know how to really put this. I guess they were the guinea pig, if you will, with those, signing Almiron, Joseph Martinez. You go and shell out big money for them. You get these young players, and all of a sudden, they're fun, you're exciting, you're packing Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and now there's a litmus test that other teams can look at and say, you know what, this formula, this thing they're doing down there, it works. We should be signing younger, more exciting players. We don't need to be signing, old, decrepit European player who once played for Werder Bremen 10 years ago, and because he played in Europe, therefore we think he's going to make people want to watch the league. I think, to me, I get more excited when I see, as a fan.
What gets Jake Wetruba all hot and bothered in Major League Soccer?
Okay, case in point, I follow Minnesota United. When Minnesota United's linked to Babello, I think it's what his name is, Reynoso, the central attacking midfielder for Boca Juniors. He's, in his lower, he's 24, 23, somewhere in that ballpark. That gets me excited. What doesn't get me excited is seeing, oh, hey, we're going to bring in, 34-year-old striker from, I don't know, Austria or something like that, or Sweden. That does nothing for me. But I feel like MLS 10 years ago thought, well, if this player at all played in Europe, that should get fans excited, and it doesn't get me excited. I like to see teams going into South America, going into Argentina, Paraguay, countries like that.
Okay,
identifying
sure, but there's a limit to that. Sometimes you can get it wrong, and
you can get it wrong, but you can also get it wrong by going fishing in Europe too.
Okay,
I've seen plenty of European players flame
you
out.
get it wrong both ways. Anyway, we got a couple minutes here before Tom Boguert calls in. Guys and listeners, we want to hear what the headline is going into Major League Soccer's 25th season. And for me, it's simple. It's all eyes on Nashville and Miami. Yep, I am excited to see Nashville opening weekend against Atlanta United with 50,000 fans singing and whatever it may be. I can't wait, okay? But, Jake, I'm concerned about the team. Yes, they have a defensive unit with the blockbuster acquisition of 2019's best center back in Walker Zimmerman, which, I don't know. I've been watching this guy since he was at FC Dallas. I've always had questions regarding Walker Zimmerman. I've never been completely sold on his play. And that's great that Nashville got him, but was Walker Zimmerman a product of just the talent he was surrounded by at LAFC? He was good at FC Dallas, but I would say Hedges was better than him. If Walker Zimmerman was so good, then why did FC Dallas let him go? So I have concerns for a team that is set up defensively. Yeah, they have, Nashville got Dax McCarty, and then this Annabelle Godoy, who's going to be quite important to the team. But where the hell are the goals going to come from? Where are the goals going to come from this team?
Former Loon Abu Danladi.
Yeah, but if Mukhtar and Lille don't live up to what they're promised to be, this team is screwed. Nuts and bolt, this team is screwed. Because if they can't put the ball in the back of the net, I think it's going to be FC Cincinnati, but not 2.0, but just not as bad. They're not going to be FC Cincinnati bad, but they could be they could have the potential of a team that just can't score.
I'm not making any predictions on Nashville this year. I've learned my lesson. I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying they're going to be
Jake, a team in Major League Soccer that is set up defensively, I don't think succeeds all that well. I think, yes, in any sport you need balance, but if you sit there and the first thing you say about a team is that they're defensive, I sit there and go, that's worrying. That works in knockout football, but we're playing 30-plus games. You can't win 1-1, 0-0. That's just not possible. Or 1-0 every...
So you definitely can't win 1-1 because that's a tie,
yes.
First and foremost.
Yes, thank you, Jake.
I think if they were a really good at counterattacking team, I think you could win playing that way. I just don't think...
But that's the thing, is they don't have the players in the front.
That's the thing. They don't have the players to get out on the front foot when they need to, which could be an issue. And I'm not super excited about Nashville. This is why I don't want to watch them. This is why I'm so confused.
Well, I'm excited for off the field, not necessarily what's on the field. But we'll ask Tom here in a minute.
I want to ask Tom this because last year we asked Sam Stejskal about FC Cincinnati after I made my hot take on how good they would be, and then he came on and said they're going to be god awful. So,
well, there you go. We'll see. And then Inter Miami, Jake, rumored with literally every superstar Barcelona squad that David Beckham was talking to Neymar. Ultimately, none of those names came over, but they are led by sporting director Paul McDonough, one of the masterminds for Atlanta United's fantastic first season here in Major League Soccer. And Jake, they do have some fun names that they were able to bring in.
Well, yeah, let's start with Rodolfo Pizarro. As I mentioned earlier, $12 million signing from Monterrey. He kind of headlines the group for Inter Miami. They also brought in Matias Pellegrini, Miami's first ever designated player, the 19-year-old winger, only has a handful of games under his belt with Estudiantes, but is very highly rated in his native Argentina. And last but not least, Julian Carranza, a reliable goal scorer, would go a long way to ensuring that Inter Miami can flourish right out of the gates in MLS. A 19-year-old Argentine potentially could fulfill that role, although an injury will rule him out for the first month of this season. So there are some flashy young players.
But with Pizarro, winning mentality, that is key. I think this is good for Miami because I had doubts regarding Miami when the signings were coming in at a snail's pace.
Oh yeah, you were definitely concerned.
I was low on this team. Some
Miami.
people had higher heights.
I want to ask Tom about that
too,
because it's definitely an interesting take and something I want answers on. So we're gonna get Tom on the horn. Stick around. Joining us now on the show is MLSsoccer.com writer, it's friend of the podcast, Tom Boguert. Tom, what is going on, my guy?
How we doing, boys? How's everything going?
Oh, it's going well. Just enjoying some CONCACAF Champions League. Montreal looking pretty good.
We have different definitions of pretty good.
Well, results-wise, they're looking good. That's why I'm holding my breath as I'm watching just an onslaught here of just kind of like we're gonna hold on for the 0-0. But Tom, let me ask you this: what's the best tradition in Major League Soccer?
Tradition? Oh man, I feel like it's a cop-out given the recency bias. But man, no matter how many times Minnesota United won at home last year, I stuck around to watch them sing Wonderwall. I think that is super cool, and I'm looking forward to that again in 2020.
What about LAFC's singing of the national anthem? You don't like that? That doesn't move you? That doesn't move your soul a little bit?
Tom, just for reference here, Steven gets really sweaty when he hears crowds sing the national anthem instead of Jennifer Lopez coming in to sing the national anthem. Steven really likes it when the team allows the fans
the citizens of the country, those people that make the country great, sing it. Yeah, that's the best part, Jake. That's LAFC have a pretty cool tradition there. Wonderwall's not too bad.
I'll give you that.
I think Jake, you once texted me Wonderwall, and you said there was one moment where that got to you after a big win.
Oh yeah, I believe it was the game against FC Dallas where Vito Manone made the save on.
Yeah, the penalty save.
Yep, that was crazy. That one was the first time at a sporting event I'm like hugging people I don't know after Vito makes that save. So yeah, that Wonderwall, that one really hit. So, but Tom, let's dive right into some MLS talk. I don't know if you heard, but the season starts this weekend.
News to me.
That's weird because you work for MLS. You would think, but anyway.
Nobody told me. I think that means that they're hoping I just don't show up again.
Okay, let's jump in here. MLS talk. Let's start out. Well, let's just start with the whole league here. We saw LAFC run away with the league last year with the Supporter Shield,
not the league.
Well, okay,
they went on and didn't do anything in the playoffs, Jake. This league is about what's done in the playoffs, not what's done in the regular season.
I cannot wait.
That's up for debate. There are Supporter Shield truthers out there.
Do you think we're going to see that again this year? Maybe not. It could be LAFC again, or maybe it's a different team. Do you think we're going to see a team run away with the Supporter Shield like we saw last season?
I hope not, and I genuinely don't think so. Like last year, it's a confluence of so many different things. Like, because Vela had 50 goal contributions or thereabouts. Like, that's insane. Like, it's wild for anything like that to happen. Like, pretty much ever again. But I mean, just with LAFC's dominance, that came from a few things too. Seattle Sounders did their thing where, they started hot like for the first month, and then took them a couple months to really get into gear. And then, out east, like Atlanta were transitioning, New York City FC were transitioning, Toronto FC were transitioning. Some of the top teams in the league, like LAFC, just kind of had to jump on everybody. And before long, the Supporter Shield was in the bag. So why would teams like NYCFC or Seattle kind of chase every single midweek point, at that point in the season? So I don't know. I think that it was just a special confluence of things, and obviously a record-setting season. I'd be surprised if the Supporter Shield doesn't go down to the last few games this year.
That'd be more exciting too. It would definitely mean something, I think, and be a little more captivating if you really have teams going back and forth for it. But let me ask you about newcomers Nashville. I'm excited to see 50,000 people packed to Nissan Stadium, but I do have concern. This team is built more defensively. They got Walker Zimmerman. I have questions regarding Walker Zimmerman. Since his days at FC Dallas, I've never been completely sold. He's a good player. He obviously was, 2019 best center back. So, fine. But Nashville, if they're built defensively, are they going to be able to score enough to be successful?
Yeah, that's the big question mark around them. I mean, their GM Mike Jacobs has joked a few times about this, I guess, line of questioning. Like, he kind of chuckles at it. He's like, oh, like people will say Gary Smith is a defense-minded coach, and a couple of these signers are defense-minded. He's like, people sometimes say it as an insult. He's like, I don't know what they're talking about. Like look, like he'll laugh. He's like, yeah, like if we're known as a team that's good defensively, like I'm good with that. That's the idea. Like, clearly based on their roster build. But I mean, I guess it's when you look at like what FC Cincinnati and Minnesota United in their first couple of years, what they did, these teams were shipping 70 goals. Orlando City, they had a good expansion season, as obviously been quick to forget, they've somehow just gone backwards since then. Like, their last few years in flux, they've been awful defensively. Like, Nashville won't be that. And I think, you're going to get points if you concede, less than 40 or 50 goals. And that's, they have the quality, and not just that, but the meaningful MLS experience to do that. I mean, definitely the questions about goal scoring. And, it comes down to essentially at this stage, hoping that one of Daniel Rios, Dambaji, or Abu Damadi kind of, between the three of them, one of them's hot at any given point, or one of them's at least doing well enough, and that Hani Mukhtar is, a 10 in this league to score goals. It's going to be a struggle, but they're going to be competitive and respectable. And, honestly, LAFC and Atlanta made us forget expansion seasons aren't easy, so I don't know. Life's all about managing expectations. And I think that they
Now, Tom, on the flip side of the coin, their expansion counterpart, Inter Miami, outside of the Rodolfo Pizarro signing a couple weeks ago, I don't know about you, but Steven and I have kind of felt like they've had a somewhat rocky run-up to the start of the season. Do you, when we kick things off later this weekend?
What do you mean by rocky? With the stadium stuff or the roster stuff?
Well, I, to be honest with you, kind of as a whole, I mean, I guess I don't know. I thought I saw about a month ago they didn't have a full roster, or maybe that was 6 weeks ago. But it just feels like they've kind of just thrown things together last minute. I'm not sure if you get that impression.
I got the impression that they're just linked with, Messi, right? That's the big name. But they were linked with big players, and they got big players. Yes, by MLS standards, they got big players. But will people be like, oh, I was expecting Cavani and this player, and everybody's sitting on like, okay, it's nice that they're linked with this, but can we not have the expectation that you're going to get these players? And it just seems like from a PR's perspective, they could have managed some of the rumors a little bit better. That way people understand that, hey, okay, David Beckham might get his superstar, but it's not going to happen this window, this winter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I get that. I mean, the only pushback I'd offer on that is, and you're right, they wouldn't distance themselves from any of those rumors because, honestly, it's good press, it's good headlines. I get why they did it. But, as you say, that the other side of that is the fans kind of create a level of expectation. But to be fair, it's not like Paul McDonough has never used the term like big name or anything like that. Anytime that I've spoken to him or I've read interviews from him, he wouldn't lock himself into that. And, obviously as one of the architects of Atlanta, and that's kind of the model he went with Miami, it's not like he was coming out and saying like, oh, we're going to sign a World Cup veteran. The only thing that he came close was saying, if we sign one, then we're going to sign two, because he was also in Orlando. And something that he's called a mistake since then is that they signed Kaká and then nobody that Kaká could relate to. So he said that wasn't, a good balanced roster build. So I think it kind of came clear when Pizarro was the second DP that, I don't know. I'd be surprised, if they got somebody like Cavani or whatever. Like, one, it's not easy, and two, McDonough just really hasn't been rolling like that so far with Miami. But if you look at the team, there are a few question marks, but there's so much talent, and that comes from when you're able to put $10 million in Matias Pellegrini, $6 million in Julian Carranza when he's not even a DP. They're looking likely to get Augustin Almendra on loan. That's essentially some of it I think is going to come down to Nico Figal, the center back. People have been comparing him to Leandro Gonzalez-Perez. If he's anything like that, they're going to be fine.
Tom, last year, Columbus, from mid-July on, only lost 2 matches at NYCFC and at Toronto. Tell me why they're a sneaky team that MLS fans need to keep an eye on.
Oh, man, they're everybody's off-season darling. I've bought into the hype though, too. I mean, even before they signed Lucas Zello-Ryan, who's, club record transfer, $7.5 million, played for the best team in North America for the past 5 years, the most accomplished one in heat rate. And even before that, you looked at that roster and like, wow, that's a good team. Like Luis Diaz looks good, Pedro Santos looks good. Zardes, for all of our jokes, he's a above average striker at MLS. He's just a reliable guy. And, Eloy Room and all the other guys are like, wow, that's a pretty good team. They could be a bit of a dark horse, maybe bottom of the playoffs, but, they've got some potential to make some noise, and then they signed Zello-Ryan. I'm all the way in on the hype. I know that this is tricky in just general lessons across all sports is, maybe don't always buy into the big off season or whatever, because it doesn't always go to plan. But, I'm struggling poking holes in this team. Like they're too deep everywhere. They got a couple extra center backs. They have above average keeper, an above average center forward, 2 good wingers, a couple even more than that. And then Zello-Ryan just raises their ceiling like really high. I mean, I don't know. I have them in one of the top 3 in the East. I have them honestly around NYCFC and Atlanta. I think they're that good.
All right, I know we got to get you going. So here's the final question: Give us 2 teams from each conference that you think are going to have a good season.
So I won't answer this in like the top 2. Like I won't say
right. Just 2 teams that you think will have
dark horse.
Yeah.
2 teams that people aren't paying attention to that are going to be good.
Yeah, I mean, I should have just said 4 team names that everybody knew was good. All right, bye, thanks, guys.
We'll hold you to your feet to the fire.
I'm going to take my answer from Columbus before, just because I'm that's how high I am on them. I really do believe that they should be viewed as a top 3 team in the conference and have expectations as such. If they don't get a home playoff game, I think that's a disappointment for where they are, barring injuries and whatever. Elsewhere in the East, I'm very high on Philly, but again, that's no surprise. They're a very good team last year and should continue as such this year. So I guess I would say the Revs really. I think that attack is going to be so much fun.
I agree.
Buxa is looking very good, and obviously we know how good Carlos Gil and Gustavo Bo is. Even though Carlos Gil didn't play a minute in preseason, and the Revs kept that under wraps, it was pretty bizarre for a league this size and a player of that stature. But apparently he's coming back to training soon. No long-term worries there. So yeah, I really the Revs will be fun, even though they could really use another defensive mid or center back. But that'll just make it all the more entertaining. Out west, there's LAFC in Seattle and then everyone else. So, behind them, FC Dallas are a team that I like a lot. If Thiago Santos is as good as, I guess, his pedigree would suggest that he's going to be, then that the FC Dallas is going to be a really good team. Because they have a back four that picks itself. They have a keeper who picks himself. I'm not huge on Jesse Gonzalez, but, he's fine and really have to worry about him. So if Thiago Santos raises the play in the midfield and Franco Jara in the summer, those particularly goals and consistent goals were something they struggled with. If Ferreira is able to play on the wing, which, depends on where they see his best position, but just anybody who can offer goals from the wing, that team is going to be, very, very good. And I guess the other one out west, I'm reluctant to say SKC because of their defensive issues. So honestly, I guess I would just dip into Portland, even though they have a bunch of questions around them too. But what they've done with their forwards, depending on how you look at it, Jeremy Abobasi might be their third best forward because this Joseph Mora comes from Liga MX with again a good track record, and they signed Nias Goda, who's a DP. That's going to be a really exciting team, and they'll find ways to balance and they'll find ways to change. They'll play two up top and see how everything else is going. Defense is a question mark there, but I think the Timbers are going to be fine this year.
Awesome. And there you have our good friend Tom. Give him a follow on Twitter. Let the listeners know quickly, Tom, where we can follow you on Twitter and then all the places you contribute your awesome talents to.
Yeah, just at Tom Boguert on Twitter. Nice and simple. And then catch my bylines at MLSsoccer.com.
Sweet. Tom, take care. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Sweet. Tom with some insights. Jake, love it. Jake, he said something rather interesting. Revs, I definitely agree. I think this is going to be a more consistent team. But I don't know. Do you feel like this is a top-heavy table? Are we going to see a Liverpool run away with it or an LAFC? I think we're going to get more of a Bundesliga Serie A type deal where it might be a few teams, but you're going to see some fantastic storylines develop throughout the season because I don't think there's a team that is going to run away with it.
Okay, this is my hot take. You ready for this? I had one last year around this time.
What was that? FC Cincinnati?
Yeah, that was my hot take. This is my hot take this year because you're saying it and Tom said it. I think LAFC is going to run away with it again this year. I think there's such a talent gap between them and the rest of the league.
Did you see them against Lyon?
I don't care what they're in midseason. They're not midseason. They're in preseason form right now.
Yeah, but that was ugly. Carlos Vela was absent.
Yeah, because they played an actual good team that just sat back and look, I feel like Minnesota United gave teams the blueprint last year on how to beat.
Yeah, but you don't think
LAFC.
But you don't think it's going to be closer? You're going to have
no, because I don't think teams are good enough in MLS to consistently week in and week out sit in, play 10 men behind the ball, 11 men behind the ball, however many it may be, and smash and grab a result against LAFC. I just don't see it. I think they have too much firepower. Bob Bradley, he runs a good show there. I don't know. I get they didn't win MLS Cup. I get Seattle Sounders are in the Western Conference. I just don't see how any of these teams in the West keep up with them. I mean, look at LAFC 12.12 points per game last year. I mean, that's crazy. And I think that you said it earlier in the show. They've lost in the second round, or they've lost in the second round last year, and they lost to Real Salt Lake in the I guess that would be the second round 2 years ago before we had this.
It was the first round.
I don't know, was the first round? Either way. I just think they're out. I think they're out. Yeah,
remember
you're
the beer
right.
was
Sorry.
thrown? The beer
Yeah, I forgot. I thought
pitch?
that was the second round too. I remember that again, throwing things at Nick Armando and stuff like that. I just think that they feel like they have something to prove, and I just think they're going to throttle teams the entire season. That's just me.
There won't be any throttling by LAFC this year like we saw last year.
Okay, I can't. If all right, well, what's the point barrier? Like, what's the measuring stick before we're like, okay, they're throttling teams now?
Okay.
How many points do they need to win by before like,
well, let's go look what they had last year.
They finished 8 points above NYCFC.
That's not that much.
I mean, they kind of teetered off.
Well, they really did teeter off. That's the problem. Okay, their point gap to the second place Seattle Sounders is what? 16 points?
That's correct.
So, how about 12 points?
For the Supporters Shield or just the West?
Let's just do it with the West, because frankly we react like this as two leagues basically when we're talking about Major League Soccer.
Okay.
I mean, frankly speaking, does Seattle really care what NYCFC are doing in the East? No, they're more concerned about what they're doing with LAFC and your position in the Western Conference. And if you're at the top of if you're at the top of both conferences, then you look at the Supporters Shield, because then you get to host MLS Cup. But that is such a far off thought. You're more concerned about, look, Seattle won the Cup last year, being the second seed in the West. So there is quite a bit of freedom. You don't necessarily have to run away with the Supporters Shield to host MLS Cup. Home field is very important in the playoffs. Now that they have this one game, which the NFL is going to copy, 7 teams, first top seed gets the bye, get that rest. I don't know if this is the same deal with Major League Soccer as it is in the NFL with that bye week, because the bye week in the NFL has so much weight to everything. But Jake, I think 12 points is what we're going to cap it at. And,
okay, they will finish 12 points above. They will finish 12 points above second place when it's all said and done. They will be at least 12 points up on second place in the Western Conference.
We'll mark it. And Montreal here is just holding on. I know. I joked with Tom here, saying, "Oh, they look great. Scoreline, yes, they're gonna do one of those survives in advance here within the 90th minute." Jake, MLS is about to go 3-for-3.
I'm not one of these people, by the way, that gets all that just roots for the entire league in CONCACAF Champions League. I don't care. To me, when it's like, oh yeah, look at Montreal, they're just grinding out a 0-0. Against Saprissa advance, I don't really care.
Hey, it's a big deal if Montreal can pull this off. Saprissa is supposed to be really good. According to everybody, Saprissa is supposed to be really, really good.
Yeah, I would say that the second best team that an MLS team is facing in this opening round of CONCACAF Champions League after Lyon, Saprissa is the next best team.
Yeah, but Montreal is also the team that's least likely supposed to advance.
Hey, that's knockout football.
Well, that's the point. 3 minutes of extra time. We'll see. Listeners, we got final thoughts here, and we're going to move on to Jermaine Jones. That guy, man, does he like to say things. Jermaine Jones is a real hero of mine. Just because
you sure you want to die on this hill right now?
No.
There were a lot of things I read in that article. I'm like, look, we had Jermaine Jones on the show.
No. Here's why he's my hero. It's because he likes to say things regarding the U.S. men's national team, and boy, does it piss people off. That's why I like him. Just for the fact that he pisses people off. Sometimes I think he's trolling.
I mean, he might be trolling. I don't think he is though. I think when he says the thing he says about Major League Soccer and U.S. Soccer, I think he means it.
Well, yeah, but I think he also knows that people are gonna freaking get their panties in a bunch,
or briefs, whatever you wear. You know,
we don't discriminate.
We don't discriminate.
Tidy whities, you wear those. Fine, granny panties, whatever it may be. Jermaine Jones talking here about Bruce Arena. And, Jacob, I don't even know where to begin. Bruce Arena, with all due respect, and anytime you start a sentence with all due respect, you know it's going south immediately.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you say no offense, but yeah. I'm going to offend you.
No offense, your driving sucks, Jake. I mean, it's why even say it? The worst coach I've ever had in my whole career. The worst. Like, he's the number one American coach. I don't know what to make of this of this sentence, because he's talking about it personally, like in my career. Worst coach I've had in my career. And he says... Then he goes on to say, yeah, and he's like the number one American coach. Dude, the dude's been really successful with Major League Soccer, and you know how you can tell that he's actually a good coach, Bruce Arena, is look what he did with the New England Revolution last year. Like, Brad Friedel.
Not what he did with LA Galaxy. Don't look at what he did with LA Galaxy. Look at what he did with the New England Revolution.
No, because I think
he got them to a first-round exit.
The reason why I say the Revs is with the Galaxy, you had the best players in the league. I think sometimes it is more... It says bigger things about you as a coach when you can do with less. And Montreal are on to the next round, by the way.
Great. I'm not watching it, so you just spoiled it for me. I'm just waiting for MLSsoccer.com to update. Thanks.
Wow. What were you going to
say? There it is. Hey, there it is. You ruined it. Thanks. Anyway. There were a lot of things Jermaine Jones said. I mean, just as it relates to U.S. Soccer, there were a lot of things he said in this Grant Wall piece earlier this week, and I mean, if you just want to keep it to U.S. Soccer, Jones, I guess, was particularly set off when Arena said he didn't care whether players had been in the Bundesliga or MLS, and this kind of I can see this. This as somebody who follows the U.S. men's national team, I don't know how you can look at players in MLS and favor them over players playing in Germany. Jones was quoted as saying, and then you see the cut out, and then you see that they cut out all half players, half German, half American, and brought all MLS players in. And with all due respect, there is that line again. And with all due respect, there's some players, they play national team now. They're not national team players. With all due respect, this is why we struggle. But nobody says that because it will hurt MLS. Because MLS is saying, wait a minute, if he helps them out and he brings a guy in who's an MLS player after a couple of times playing national team, he's not a national team player. Now we can sell it better, you know? And it's just marketing and the business. Okay, first and foremost, Jermaine Jones is saying something here I have thought for a very long time as it relates to U.S. soccer and MLS. I'm putting my tinfoil hat on here. The U.S. soccer is a marketing ploy or a propaganda machine for MLS. And I know it's kind of a conspiracy theory-ish, but I agree with Jermaine Jones here. They call up these MLS players who don't deserve to be up there, and they now can say, look at this national team player. I mean, how many times did we talk with Armand about how much Armand thought Chase Gasper of Minnesota United was a terrible, I shouldn't say terrible, but he just wasn't. He was overrated as a rookie fullback for Minnesota United. Well, now he's getting call-ups to the U23 team, and he's gotten a call-up in January to the national team. And now all of a sudden, now Chase Gasper is going to be U.S. men's national team player, Chase Gasper. You know what I mean? It changes the perspective. Or Aaron Lovitz. Aaron Lovitz is terrible. Why? but we're gonna talk about him now like he was this, like he's played with the national team all these years, and now it's going to be U.S. international. He's got X amount of caps with the national team, Aaron Lovitz. I can totally see where Jermaine Jones is coming from in terms of being able to market the players and market the team, because you can say this player played for the national team.
Yeah, but think about all the players that get brought into Major League Soccer. Oh, he has 4 caps with the Czech national team. Oh, he must be good. Oh, played for the Czech national team. It's like, oh, he has 4 caps with the Kosovo national team. Oh, okay, let's go. Yeah, it is a huge
Mickey
marketing
Mouse.
thing.
Mickey Mouse making a return to Uncle Sam's Soccer Podcast.
Oh, Jake, yeah.
I think this is probably a good point to wrap up. I think we've gone off the rails.
I don't know. I think there's actually a lot of truth to what Jermaine Jones is saying, but it's also coming from an emotional side. I think he hurts a little bit regarding what the situation, and obviously 2018 wasn't good. But look, I was watching Hercules Gomez on ESPN FC, and I think he's right. He goes, nobody wants to take blame for what happened in 2018. But at what point, Jake, we're going to end with this. At what point are we going to move on from 2018? Like, there's nothing to be done to rewrite history. We failed. Okay, the 2018 World Cup has passed. We're about to hit 2 years on the 2018 World Cup. Can we move on from it?
Yeah. I mean, what else is there to talk about this national team, though? I mean, look. I mean, really, though. Think about it. Think about it. We're 2 years after.
We're still talking about this.
It's because the product is still piss poor. The product on the field is still piss poor, and it circles back to the 2018 World Cup and qualifying for the 2018 World Cup. So if Greg Berhalter and this team look impressive the last year, maybe we aren't talking to Jermaine Jones about how messed up U.S. soccer is. Maybe we don't need to have that conversation anymore. Maybe the narrative
soccer
changed.
has come a long way. I mean, a long way since 2017. That's the incredible thing. Look at the players that they just got brought in this past window and the money spent. How many teams broke their own transfer record?
A lot of them.
Yeah. Anyway, listeners, at Unc Sam Soccer Pod, at Jake Wetruba, at Steven Jotter, and check out our episode on the Australian wildfires and what Football for Fires is. Awesome episode, fantastic guest. Thanks to Tom for joining us. Come back next week. We butcher more names. We'll talk more MLS. Probably talk more U.S. men's national team. And yeah, MLS is 3-for-3 regarding the CONCACAF Champions League. Can Seattle and LAFC make it 5-for-5? We shall see. Until next time.
This is no ordinary sub shop. This is Firehouse Subs.
Welcome to Firehouse!
Tired of overpriced lunches that underdeliver on flavor? Head to Firehouse Subs, where for a limited time you can get a $4.99 choice sub. Choose from a medium smoked turkey, Virginia honey ham, or roast beef. They're custom-made hot subs at a price ready-made to make you smile. Just $4.99, only at Firehouse Subs. Enjoy more subs, save more lives. Participating locations plus tax, limited time offer. Prices may vary for delivery.
This is Derek's O'Reilly Auto Parts story.
After the third time jump-starting my car, I finally realized my battery was dying. So I stopped by O'Reilly to have it checked. They tested it right there in the parking lot. It was bad, real bad. But they helped me find the right battery for my car and even installed it for free. Now my car starts like new.